Hi, this is Tamara from mooglyblog.com, and in this video I'll be demonstrating how to crochet the Hygge Cloud Super Scarf, which is a free pattern you'll find on mooglyblog.com. Please go to the link in the description. There you'll find both right and left-handed video tutorials, as well as a link to the written pattern and all the supplies you need. For this pattern, you'll need 4 balls of Red Heart Hygge, 3 in Cloud, which you can see here, and 1 more in the Pearl colorway, just 1 ball of this off-white color, or of course whichever colors you like. You'll also need a US 9mm hook that could be an M or an N depending on your favorite brand. This one is by Furls. And here you can see the finished super scarf. Now, it's pretty big. Like I said, it's a super scarf. It actually measures about 10 inches wide and 90 inches long, not including the fun tassels. However, I have included the stitch multiple for custom sizing in the written pattern. Basically, a multiple of 4 plus 1 for the turning chain. So here we've got this beautiful scarf, and you can see hopefully you can see I've worked 2 rows in each color before switching colors so that I'm able to carry the yarn along the side. I'll be demonstrating that stitch pattern for you here in a moment. But essentially what I did was I changed colors every 2 rows until I got to about row 68. So like I say, it's a super scarf. It keeps going. Then I just worked in the gray for a while, and I brought in a little bit of the pearl color there at the end. But of course, you can do your stripes however you like. So let's go ahead and take a look at this beautiful stitch pattern. Now, as I said, the original Hygge Cloud Super Scarf is made in Red Heart Hygge, but I'm going to demonstrate today in Red Heart with Love because it's smoother and I think it'll be a little easier to see the stitches. That said, Hygge itself isn't difficult to work with. I just wanted to make sure this video tutorial was as clear as it could be. So, to begin row 1, we're going to start with a chain of 25, which I've got right here. Then we are going to skip the 4 chains closest to the hook. Now, when I crochet into a chain, I like to work into that back hump, the one right on the bottom, rather than under the top 2 loops like you normally would, and as you were probably initially taught. Now, this is just a personal preference. I think it does give a really nice finished edge when it's time to come back and add the edging, but if you prefer to work under the top 2 loops, or however you like to work into the chain, that is fine. So I'm going to go ahead and yarn over and skip those first 4 stitches here. 1, 2, 3, 4. Then I'm going to work 3 double crochets into the next stitch. So that's the 5th one from the hook. So I'll just go ahead and go right under that loop and make 3 double crochets all right into that same chain. So there's 2, and here's 3. Then I'm going to chain 1 and skip the next 3 stitches. 1, 2, 3. So this will be the next stitch I work into. And that is essentially our rep. Believe it or not, we're going to work 3 double crochets into that stitch right there. Just gotta, always a little fiddly working into that chain. Fortunately, it's just this first row here. So there's 1, 2, 3, chain 1, skip 3. 1, 2, 3. Then we start again. 3 double crochets in the next chain. So there's 1, 2, 3, chain 1, skip the next 3. 1, 2, 3. Then of course I'll double crochet 3 times in the next one. So you just keep doing this all the way across until 1 chain remains. So I'll see you as soon as we get to that last chain. Alright, so here I am close to the end of row 1. Now remember, our repeat is 3 double crochets in the chain, chain 1, and then skip 3. So 1, 2, 3. I should have, 1 more chain left here right at the end. So in this very last chain, we're going to go ahead and work 2 double crochets. Now, you may notice this pattern is a little different already for more experienced crocheters. The ends don't exactly mirror each other on this pattern, and that's going to be just fine. So don't worry about that. We've got 2 double crochets on this end. We started with those 4 chains we skipped right there, but now we're ready for row 2. So row 2, I'm going to go ahead and keep using my first color. And I'm going to begin with a chain 2. And I want to note that in this pattern, this chain 2 does not count as a stitch, but we're going to work into it as if it were a chain 2 space. So I'll show you how that works out here shortly, but right up front you should know this does not count as a stitch. What we're going to do though is the next thing we're going to do is jump right on over to this chain 1 space and work a double crochet right in there. like so, just right in the space. We don't have to go into the chain itself. Then we're going to double crochet in the second skipped chain down here of the row below. So remember, we skipped those 3 chains. We want to find the second one or the middle one, and we're going to crochet into that chain. So I guess we've got just a couple more chains to work into here in row 2, but we just go right in there with our hook. And then what we want to do is we want to make sure to enclose that chain 1 space. So when I go into that chain with my hook, I want to make sure that the working yarn goes over that chain 1 space before I pull it through, like so. Then you can kind of pull that up a little higher and finish your double crochet, like so. Then we're going to double crochet right back in that chain 1 space again, right there we go. So in that very first chain 1 space, we started with a chain 2, come to that first chain 1 space, work a double crochet in the center of those skipped chains below, and then another double crochet all right in that chain 1 space. Then we're just going to chain 1, skip the next 3 stitches, and do it all again. Double crochet in the chain 1 space, double crochet in the center of those skipped chains. So come right down there, find those 3 and find the middle one. Get your hook on in there, and then like I say, just make sure you are enclosing that chain 1 space above it. You don't want to be working in front of it. And then double crochet once more right back in that same chain 1 space, like so. Then we chain 1 again, skip the next 3, and do it again. Double crochet in the chain 1 space, double crochet in that skipped center chain. However you were working into it before, try and do the same thing here. Enclose the chain 1 space above it, and then double crochet right back in that same chain 1 space again. And then of course chain 1 and skip the next 3. Double crochet in the chain 1 space, double crochet in the center skipped stitch. There we are. Pull that one up again. I like to pull that one up a little bit higher. And there we go. And then double crochet right back in that chain 1 space again. We are almost at the end of row 2. Even at 10 inches wide, this goes pretty quickly. So we've got 3 more to skip here. We've got 1 more chain 1 space to work into. So we'll double crochet down in that skipped stitch. Where'd it go? It's okay, just kind of pull your stitches apart and take your time and look for it if you need to. Get that stitch in there. There we go. Pull that loop up, finish that double crochet in that same chain 1 space. There we are. Then we chain 1. We can see we've got these 3 double crochets left, and we've got this chain space right here. What we're going to do is work 2 double crochets in that space. So right there, right in between that first double crochet we made at the beginning of row 1 and all those chains we skipped, we just work 2 double crochets right into that space, like so. And that is it for row 2. Now at the end of row 2, that's where you want to switch out to color B. So I'm going to actually pull that last stitch back out, because what I want to do is start the double crochet, and then when I have 2 loops left on the hook, that's where I'm going to pull in my color B. There we are. There's the end. All right, so I'll go ahead and yarn over with that, leaving a good 6 inches so I can weave in my tail and finish that stitch with our second color. Now, after I do that, I'm just going to let these ends hang out here on the side. I might pull them up and tuck them in a little bit as I make these next 2 rows, but I want to leave color A attached so that I can bring it back in without having to cut my yarn every time I change stripes. So I'll show you how to do that here as we go. All right, so let's go ahead and begin row 3. I'm going to start again with a chain 2, 1, 2, and then I am going to double crochet in the next chain space right there. And then I am going to double crochet in the center of the skipped stitches. This time, the row below, we've got these 3 double crochets, so it's that center double crochet that we want to work that long and tall double crochet into there, like so. Then we can go right back in that chain 1 space, sort of pull your stitches open if you need to find it. There we go, and that's it. Chain 1, skip to the next chain 1 space, double crochet in the center of those skipped stitches, and double crochet right back in that same chain 1 space. So it's pretty much exactly the same rep as before, except this time, of course, you're going to be working into stitches rather than chains, because now we've worked a couple rows and the stitches are available. So just keep making your repeat on across until you get to the end, just as you have been before. So I will see you as we get closer to the end of row 3. All right, so here I am at the end of row 3. I've worked into each of those chain 1 spaces. You can see our stitch pattern starting to form a little bit already. And of course, I've got my chain 1, and if I skip those last 3 there, I've got this chain 2 space to put those final 2 double crochets into, 1 and 2. Now after row 3, I'm not going to change colors. Remember, our colors are hanging out here on the other side, and I'm going to work 2 rows in each color. So now I'm ready for row 4. Row 4, of course, is exactly like the previous row. We chain 2, we turn, and then we're ready to start working into those chain 1 spaces just as before. So I'm going to go ahead and keep working across, and when I get to the end of row 4, I will show you how I pull up that next color so that we don't have to cut our yarn. All right, and here we are nearly at the end of row 4. I've just got those last 3 and that last chain 2 space to work those 2 final double crochets into. But again, it's time to switch colors. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is I'm going to pull out that last stitch altogether, and I want to start pulling up that second color here right away. So I'm going to give it a little tug. Sometimes those stitches, open up as you're sitting there with the end still attached, and that's okay. Just give it a little tug to tighten it up. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to lay it over the yarn that I am crocheting with right now. So it's just sort of trapped in there. So let me try that again here. If I go in there and if I lay my old color over my current color, then when I crochet with it, you see it pulls it right up along the side, like so. It's a little bit trapped right there along the side. Then before I finish that stitch, I can go ahead and drop that color. And I always like to drop the old color on top and pull the other one up from underneath. I find it just gives a little bit better look, but you can experiment with it yourself. And finish off that stitch with my next color. So you can see it's trapped along the side. When you do that, you want to make sure not to pull it too tight or you're going to squinch down the side of your scarf. You also don't want to pull it up too loosely because then you end up with some looseness here. And some of that can be covered up when you work your edging, and that the edging will of course cover up the actual color changes themselves too. But you just want to make sure if you need to adjust it, pull back and forth on the loop a little bit like that, that can help that yarn sort of settle right down into where the right length along the side there should be. After that, you're ready to go ahead and begin row 5, which is going to be exactly the same as the last few rows. That is essentially a 1 row repeat. The only reason the written pattern takes as much space as it does, of course, is because I've got some color changes in there, some different stripes. So you'll want to refer to the written pattern for all the striping details if you want to make sort of the, I don't know if we would call it an asymmetrical stripe, where it's about half striped all the way through and then solid and then some stripes on the end. Or, of course, you can take this stitch pattern and use it however you like. It's a really fun stitch pattern. And as I make this next row here, hopefully you'll be able to see how great it is. One of my favorite things about it is that it creates this really great chevron look. You can see it starting to form here already, and we're not doing any increasing or decreasing. So it's just a really great way to get that look with this yarn. And then when it's time for the edging, it's just a matter of single crocheting evenly all the way around the scarf with a little chain 2 on each corner to help you make that corner. So let's go ahead and pull up the finished scarf again. And that's how you crochet the Hygge Cloud Super Scarf using Red Heart Hygge. You can see here again, these are those beautiful chevron shapes with no increases or decreases. Gotta love that. We've also got this really simple single crochet edging. If you want to add a fancier edging on your own, that's totally cool, but you may need to buy more yarn for it. I used just about every last bit making this scarf, including these fun tassels, for which I did use the Red Heart Palm and Tassel Maker, but of course you can make your tassels however you like, or skip them if you don't like tassels. They're totally optional. So I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope it answered all your questions about this pattern. If it didn't, or if you have any comments, please let me know in the comments. Don't forget to like this video, and please do subscribe to the Moogly YouTube channel. Thanks so much for watching, everybody.